I get asked almost every single day, what are the worst countries in a lockdown? We've got a situation where there's lockdowns globally right now. People are looking to make an income. People are looking to have peace of mind. People are looking to have freedom. People are looking for a way to earn an income and support themselves because the governments have been proven unreliable, tyrannical, treasonous, totalitarian, communist, socialist, horrible people across the board and across the world. So what can you do? Where could you go? What country should you look at? We're going to talk about 5 places you should look at, in my opinion, because the world is falling apart and locking down left, right, and center. Today, in Operation Save Yourself. All right, the first thing is the government has proven that you need to be able to support yourself. Governments are not going to support you, and they are falling apart worldwide. Countries are falling apart. Economies are falling apart. Even pumped up economies like here in the United States are falling apart. Our stock market's been taking massive hits, and that's even with our country pumping in trillions of dollars in the stock market in the last year. Over $4 trillion. And it's still falling apart. So let's talk about 5 countries you should look at. Now, before we do, I get asked every day, Cody, how do I take control of my income? You always talk about that. Well, you got to be able to make money online somehow. There's a lot of ways you can make money online, and you've got to find one that works for you. Going to a job, going to an office really just ain't going to cut it anymore. Now, if you guys want us to actually build a business for you, check out the first link down below. And we can get this going for you right now so you don't have to worry about this anymore. But you have to take control of your income. So the 5 countries, very important. In 5th place, okay, we're going to start with 5th place. We'll get to the 1st place. In 5th place, and I'm going to tell you the country, and I'm going to tell you why you want to look at the country, okay? The first one you want to look at is Iceland. Now, you might be thinking, Iceland, are you out of your mind? No, actually, I'm not. Iceland has a lot to offer. Iceland has a fairly stable situation. You don't hear about Iceland a lot. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Iceland is not a disaster like, I don't know, Germany, Austria, Canada, Australia, and all these other garbage countries out there. Great people, garbage leaders, and they've ruined these countries. They're basically third world countries. I've said it before. Australia was basically on everyone's bucket list 2 years ago. Now, it literally looks like hell on earth. So good luck, Australia. The world's praying for you, but it's a disaster. Same thing with Germany, Austria, and Canada's not far behind. So those type of countries you want to avoid like the plague. But Iceland is actually a great option, and Iceland has some of the securest internet in the world. A lot of people don't know that, but Iceland, that's why a lot of hackers go to Iceland. It's why a lot of high-level internet people go to Iceland. Iceland is a haven for that kind of stuff, and if you're looking to make money online, that might be the place you want to potentially look at. It's actually a really beautiful country. It has a lot to offer, and I highly recommend you check out Iceland. Number 4 is Viva la Mexico, right? Yeah, Mexico. The great thing about Mexico, for as corrupt as Mexico can be, okay, there's a lot of high-level corruption. There's also a lot of high-level tourism. You want to find a place in the middle. There's a lot of really beautiful places in Mexico. I'm not talking about Cabo. I'm not talking about Spring Break. And I'm also not talking about Mexico City and some of these other places. But there's a lot of really cool pockets in Mexico that you can do really good. I've got a lot of clients at PrivacyX that go to all these countries that I'm going to name, and Mexico is a good one. So Iceland's in the 5th spot. Mexico's just kind of a good all around. It doesn't have the premium internet as Iceland, but it's got good internet. It doesn't necessarily, it's very secure in some areas and very shady in others. So you really, really want to do your research before you go to Mexico. But Mexico is a large country and has a lot of really good pockets. Number 3 is the United States of America. Now, you might be thinking, Cody, what? Number 3 is the U.S. of A., the good old U.S. of A. Yeah, you know, the thing is, the good thing about the United States is we're pretty much the only country in the world right now that we're slapping down these mandates left, right, and center. Joe Biden is literally whining in a corner right now. He's so sad because he doesn't have dictatorship. He's not an oligarchy like he prays that he could be. He doesn't have the power that he wishes he had. And we have a constitution. And we've had something like 40 lawsuits in our Supreme Courts and our federal courts that have basically said, F you mandates. We've got 26 states that have virtually zero regulations. Where I live, Texas and also Las Vegas, I mean, it's nobody even noticed. There's no situation. It's just everyone kind of business as usual. You can wear a mask if you want, but most people don't. You can have your little thing if you want. Most people don't. The only thing you'll notice is different. Some people with concerts and stuff will require some kind of treasonous V passport, which will tell them to go kick rocks. Other than that, everything's pretty normal, pretty legit. So there's a lot of great states in the United States, Florida, Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota is a really good one. Tennessee's popping off. What was there? One of the Carolinas, I can't remember which one, just busted down 3 more mandates. We're having states left and right. There's 26 of them and counting. And so the reality is the United States is great for this because we have the most freedom. We're the well-armed country. Our president is scared to death. The country is freedom. That's what we're all about. Free enterprise and freedom. So for America's all its problems, most of what you see on the media is lies about all countries, not just America, but especially here in America. It's not what you think. Now, United States would be 3. So you might be thinking, well, there's 2 more. What are the other 2? Well, we got a couple of options here, and you're really going to want to hear me out on these. In the second spot, I would recommend Switzerland. Now, you're going to need to have a little more capital than the average person. If you're making 30 grand a year online, Switzerland's probably not going to be an option. But Switzerland is actually one of the most secure countries in the world. Banking, it's got the best banking in the world. I've got countless clients who bank in Switzerland because it's got some of the best offshore banking laws, some of the best privacy laws. It's got some of the best laws for their citizens. Switzerland is not a perfect country, and it's in the middle of a disaster. And some of the worst countries like England falling apart, Germany falling apart, Austria falling apart. We'll see what happens with France. Poland is getting ready for an all-out war that they cannot win. You've got the EU and the Ukraine. So it's just a disaster over there right now. Absolute disaster. But in the midst of all that, another country you don't hear messing around and BSing all the time is Switzerland. Switzerland is a really, really good country, and there's a lot to offer in Switzerland. Tax reasons, bank reasons, foreign LLC reasons. A lot of people I work with on ghosting, Switzerland is high priority country, especially for high net worth individuals, people in crypto. There's so many benefits to Switzerland. So Switzerland is a really, really good option if you can afford it. Now, you don't, by no means you have to be rich. I'm not saying you have to be a millionaire. I'm not saying you got to be just loaded to be in Switzerland. You absolutely do not. But it's not also a cheap country. It's not a super expensive country, but it's not a super cheap country either. In all these countries, I recommend you do a lot of research on and figure out if it's right for you. I'm not saying you should bolt, but I'm also not saying you shouldn't bolt. There's a lot of expats, and I work with a lot of expats worldwide, especially right now, but we have for years, but especially right now. And these are some high priority countries. Number 1. Now, there's a couple honorable mentions I'm going to say before we get into number 1. One of them is the Cayman Islands. I really don't recommend you live in the Cayman Islands unless you A, own a pretty nice boat of your own, or B, a private plane of your own. And banking and LLCs and trusts and things of that nature in the Cayman Islands are phenomenal. It is a very, very good country. But actually living there, I do recommend you be a reasonably high net worth person. A lot of people ask me about the Caymans, also the British Virgin Islands. I recommend you have some capital. The other one I get recommended all the time is people ask me about Singapore. Singapore is actually a decent option if you're not a Singapore national, if you're not from Singapore, and you actually have money. Because Westerners are treated really good in Singapore if you have money. Another country I get asked a lot about is Dubai. Now, Dubai has a lot of good and Dubai has a lot of bad. And if you're from the West, you're going to think some of the laws in Dubai are a little bit silly, and you're going to think some of the laws in Dubai are pretty cool. There's a lot to offer in Dubai. You can actually live in Dubai for substantially cheaper than you probably think. But Dubai is a decent option. So my 3 honorable mentions are the Caymans, Singapore, and the Caymans and Singapore. I recommend you have some decent capital. All the other countries on this list you can move to for fairly inexpensive. I mean, the first 3 you can move to with very low income. Switzerland, you need a little higher income, and you definitely need some money for the Caymans and Singapore. For Dubai, you actually don't need very much money, considering a lot of people think you do because Instagram's full of, these pictures. Dubai, you can actually get by a lot cheaper if need be. If you don't make substantial amounts of money, it's a good option. But for all these countries, I really recommend you know the laws. And if you're an American leaving America, keep in mind, you can say what you want about America, but we have freedoms that all the other free, and I'm doing air quotes, supposed free countries can't comprehend, okay? You wouldn't believe the freedoms we have in America compared to some of these countries. Say what you want about America, but, I can go grocery shopping with a gun right now, okay? I can have you drive around with a gun in the back window of your pickup truck, cop pulls you over, oh, nice gun, okay? Try that in any other country and see what happens, okay? I can open carry, a knife like this. I mean, I can take a knife like this, and I can open carry, and it's cool. It's legit, right? So what I'm telling you is we have a lot of laws in this country that you couldn't comprehend in a lot of other countries, okay? On a regular basis, I'll have my, I won't get into all that right now, but it's a different world. It's a different world in America. So understand that is what I'm trying to tell you. The next thing is number 1. Now, there's a lot of countries out there, but number 1, based on my research and based on quality of life and based on happiness and based on how things are going right now, is absolutely China. Now, China, number 1, according to a lot of people, is New Zealand. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of things in New Zealand, and I could actually never live there. But based on how things are going right now, and I think a lot of people are factoring it based on, there's a lot of fear out there for World War III, and it's actually warranted. If you look at what NATO and China and Russia and the Ukraine and the United States, you look at what's going on, it's kind of, look at the headlines on a daily basis. They're talking war. Now, will it actually come? Hope not. I think everyone hopes not, but we're closer than we've been in a long time. I'll tell you that much. And a lot of people are looking at New Zealand as a great option. Now, personally, people ask me all the time, if I were to pick one of these countries, which one would I pick? I would probably pick Switzerland, personally. If I moved to any of these countries, I would probably pick Switzerland for a host of different reasons that I can get into at a later date. But my personal number 1 would probably be Switzerland, and my personal number 2 would be a toss-up between Iceland and Mexico, because it would be very easy for me to disappear in Iceland or Mexico. And in Switzerland, I could disappear everywhere because I know exactly how to do this stuff. I am an actual ghost in a lot of ways. And if I wanted to really drop off the radar, I absolutely could. But my pick would probably be Switzerland 1, and then Mexico and Iceland tied at 2. Let me know down below what yours are. If there's a country that I didn't have on this list that you would think is pretty good. And keep in mind, I'm talking about right now with the world falling apart in the lockdowns, making income online, and actually sustaining yourself for the next year, 2, 3, however long this goes on. I'm not talking about 2 years ago, because 2 years ago, there's some countries that are complete garbage right now that people would have loved to go visit. I always wanted to go to Australia. I've actually never been to Australia. It was on my bucket list. Now it is not. I don't care if I ever see that godforsaken place. The people that run that place are probably the scum of the earth. They make Biden look impressive, which is almost impossible, and I can't believe I just said that, but they do. They're just snorting lines of coke and coming up with rules as they go. They're suspending their parliament. I mean, it is basically the next living translation to Hitler is what Australia has become. And although Austria and Germany are like, hey, hold my beer, this is our lineage, and they're getting ready to do the same thing. So I'm praying that this doesn't happen to any of these people, but it's not looking good. In Australia, when they're rounding up the indigenous people from Australia. I mean, as a Native American, you know, my ancestors went through the same thing here in the United States. And people of other races went through the same thing. So, and they're rounding up people in Australia right now. They're having COVID camps in Australia. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. So anyway, those are my 5. Let me know your 5 down below. Appreciate you checking this out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. Putting out new content all the time here on Privacy X. Have an amazing day, guys. Go all in everything you do, and I'll see you in the next video.